What's up, everybody? Scott Leese here, host of What's Your Story, along with my good friend and partner, Mike Lindstrom. Hope you're having a great holiday season. You're around your family and loved ones, and if you've got to travel, goes smooth and goes easy. Super excited this week. We've got my friend Mike Simmons on the podcast. Mike Simmons is a enterprise sales guy. He's been an enterprise sales leader, VP of sales. He runs his own business, consulting firm. This guy is the king of the whiteboard. When I tell you he's the king of the whiteboard, he travels to events and conferences and stuff like that, and he'll bring this whiteboard with him, and he'll do little impromptu coaching sessions on the whiteboard. People love it. He's been known for this for a while now. He's such a sharp guy, really good friend of mine, pretty decent golfer, and he's local here to the Scottsdale, Arizona area. So hope you enjoy this episode with Mike Simmons, talking about sales and leadership and entrepreneurship, a little bit of golf, a little bit of parenting. I hope you have a great Christmas and a happy new year. Check out this episode of What's Your Story. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of What's Your Story. I'm Scott Leese, here with my good friend and co-host Mike Lindstrom. And on What's Your Story, we talk to people, esteemed guests like my good friend Mike Simmons, who's going to join us in a minute. Talk a little bit about business, could be about sales, could be about parenting, could be about adulthood, aging, our childhood, difficult things we grew up with. Basically, what's your story?
Our favorite question. What's your story?
It's so good. You wrote a book called What's Your Story, actually, and we thought when we were trying to come up with what is our podcast theme going to be, what's the brand going to be, at one point I said, why are we overthinking this? Why not just make it What's Your Story?
I'm glad we did.
Yeah, so that's why we're here. We're here with Mike Simmons, who's the founder of Catalyst. He lives here in the Phoenix, Arizona area, along with you, Mike Lindstrom. Yeah, so we're excited to join him, and we'll welcome you to the show. Mike Simmons, how are you?
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, bud.
It's great to meet you.
Hey, yeah, we have future plans. We got to get together now.
Awesome.
It's going to be a done
We're
deal.
gonna play golf.
I love it. I'm in.
I have golfed with
cools down.
I have golfed with Mike before. He's pretty good.
I'm not worried. I'm sure he's better
pretty
than
good.
me.
He's not like amazing, but he's pretty.
If he's getting a few nines during the week, he's already talking about getting a few nines during the week. That's much.
He's out practicing us.
Yeah,
probably.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, the name of the show obviously is What's Your Story, so kind of leave it open-ended. You can take it any direction you kind of want. So tell us a little bit, like, what's your story, man?
Yeah. Like I shared with you, this is a hard thing for me because I don't really share my story and I don't really think I have a story. So the questions are going to be super helpful. I'm the oldest of 7 kids.
7.
Yeah. So oldest of 7. I've got 3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Oh.
I was born out on Long Island. Lifelong Jets fan, lifelong Islander fan. Moved to Southern California, spring break my freshman year in high school, and traded hockey skates for football cleats. And then came out here to go to Arizona State University, and I've been here since then. So since '92, with the exception of a 2-year vacation up in Seattle, where we realized Seattle was not for us.
What is it like growing up as the oldest with 6 other siblings who are going through things you've already gone through, and you're watching them make mistakes or make certain decisions, and you're like, oh, I don't think I would have done that, or damn, I wish I would have done that. That's a unique experience, I think, and more rare these days. I don't know anybody my age who has.
That's a rare stat. That's got to be a small
my age.
minority. Small minority.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't have 7 kids. That was part of the thing. Like when Jen and I first started dating and we got married, we weren't going to have kids. And then all of a sudden she got the itch to have kids. And then now we're having kids. So I don't know. I took a lot of responsibility in helping move things forward, but I don't know that I ever really paid attention to their specific journey where I was like, ooh, I see that. I wouldn't make that. I was just like, idiot, why'd you make that mistake?
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. And I probably created a lot of mistakes for them because of the area of focus that I had at any given point in time. So I don't know that I was a good older brother from that perspective to be like, hey, look, let me put you under my wing. I do it now more than I did back then. And now it's more about having the house set up where we can have everybody come to our house for Thanksgiving or birthday parties or those kind of things, and have the space where it can absorb that type of a family. That's super important to me because those connections have gotten better over the years than what they were when we were younger and we were growing up, because you have all the tension that's happening as young kids around the house. I mean, I'm sure you guys know your kids probably fight with each other every once in a while.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
But there's only 2 of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Same thing here too.
Imagine that amplified with the combination of both testosterone and estrogen.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Can't even
How did you cultivate that? Were you the one who, as the eldest, who kind of put the olive branch out, so to speak? Not that there was tension or turmoil, but the way you just talked about it, getting your house together to host everyone, makes it seem like you're the leader, and you kind of made a conscious decision to get everybody together in that regard.
Yeah, it evolved over time. When I was at UPS, my parents went through a divorce, and it was just after I had left the house. So it was like 93, 94-ish. And I talked to my manager there, and I said, hey, can I get a transfer to one of the hubs in the Laguna Hills area? And he looked at me right across the desk and said, what are you going to do? Like, really? Are you going to go back there and fix that? Like, that's not your thing. You've got to live for you. You've got to move forward. And I still remember that conversation, because his whole point was, if you shut things down now and go back there, then what? What's next? You're going to drop out of school? You just go to Cal State Fullerton? You're going to go, wherever it is, like, you're going to go to some community college out there, and then what is going to happen? So that triggered both a decision and then a feeling of abandonment, where I was like, I'm leaving them out there, but at this point in time, that's really going to be the best thing for them and the best thing for me. Then over time, you start to look at it and say, okay, well, how do we bring things together? Because my kids love hanging out with many of my brothers and sisters. Not all of them, because, again, you got 7. There's all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Happening, right? So it was really about, look, there's 2 big things. One, a little bit of selfishness. It's easier to bring everybody in, get food together, barbecue, do all that kind of stuff, and do it at my house and not have to go drive someplace. One piece. And then the other one is being able to provide or have the kids start to see, hey, what it's like when you're around a big family, and that there's more blood out there than what you see right in front of us right now. So that was an evolution over time. Yeah.
There's a doctor, I think it's Dr. Lehman. He has a whole series of books called The Birth Order.
Okay.
You ever heard about it?
I've heard the book. I don't think I've ever read it.
He's great. He's spoken at our church before, and I've read most of his stuff would be relevant to me. But he talks about that. It's interesting how he can sit there in an audience and go, okay, how many only children do you have in the room? Raise your hand. All right. 2, boy, girl. Every combo you could possibly imagine. Then he gets to your group. All right, 5 and above. Go ahead, raise your hand. And then he just breaks you down. He tells you exactly how you're wired, how you think. It's crazy. So I'm just curious to you, if you look back I always say between 5 and 12, that's kind of like my thing. Between 5 and 12, something happens, right? It's impactful, it's positive. You got voted something, you got called from a team, went through a divorce with your family. You saw something happen between 5 and 12 that was a moment of truth or a peak moment in your life. I'm curious to know, like, what was one of those things for you between 5 and 12, being that you're in this position where you can say it was definitely a defining moment for who I am today?
Yeah. So I would go to events where my dad was at that point, he's a regional sales manager, and he's just the life of the party there, and people that are there, and everybody's smiling around him. And there was something different about what happened there versus what happened at home. So that is why I never wanted to get into sales.
Oh.
I saw that. And it's nothing against him, really. Like, that was just that's how he managed it. That was his process, all of that stuff. That's on him. But I looked at it and I was like, okay, now my view is sales equals full of crap. A different story that you do outside versus what you do inside. And it took me years to finally figure that piece out, like this disconnect that would happen. And there were a number of different instances where it would happen even after that 5 to 12. I don't think I really started to grow up until I was on my own.
Yeah.
And basically, I got the call when my parents got divorced. It was basically, look, there's no money. You're on your own. Figure out school.
Wow.
And that's from growing up in Laguna Hills, California. Pretty good, affluent area.
Yeah, definitely.
Just kind of going to come through. And that was a pretty big shift. But I don't think I really don't think I started growing up until much later in life, so even though there were those things that impacted and influenced things, as I reflect, it was I didn't realize them until a bit later.
I have a real quick follow up on this one. So yeah, I heard what you said about sales thing. I always talk about, your language patterns tip your cards a little bit. When you said what you said about your dad, right? But you're kind of in this now. You're in sales. I've watched your videos. I mean, by all stretch of the imagination, I'd say this guy's a good salesman, and he's very good at what he does. So there's always this, oh my gosh, I don't want to be seen as a sales guy. I don't want to be like the used car salesman, or maybe what I saw my parents or my family do. So what was the shift? Because here you are. You may have struggled with mentally, was I sales, was I not in sales? But we're all in sales. But somehow you've gotten over that, because here we are, you're in sales somehow.
So I joined an ed tech company that had an office not too far from where we are right now, over at Scottsdale Air Park. The name of the company was SmartForce. And I was in there as what would be called customer success today. It was an implementation success manager, and I was on the business side. So we had an application engineer, technical person, and then someone on the business side. And we would work as a team with an account executive, a regional account executive to work with. And that's where I saw what real sales is and was. And it's about, now my definition's a bit different, but today I look at it, it's about leading a customer. It's acting in service. It's helping people move forward. And I saw that in that environment, which was completely different than my preconceived notions of what sales was based on all of the other experiences that I had.
Yeah.
Did that evolve the way that you looked at your dad, or has that sort of stayed the same?
Yeah, it's it hasn't really evolved the way I looked at my dad, primarily because when looking at him, there really wasn't a reason to be something different outside of the house versus being inside of the house. That's something I try to do. Like, what you see is what you get. I ask a lot of questions. Jen will say, "You're treating me like a client." And I'm like, "I treat everybody the same way." Like, it becomes frustrating though when you hear it from someone you love over and over and over again. So I ask a lot of questions. Would it change? Does it change my perspective of him? No. These days, though, my perspective of him is he did what he could with what he had while he was going through, and there's nothing that I'm going to do to change how he approaches things.
So let's go back to Long Island.
Sure.
Where I will be in about a month. So you get this New York upbringing.
Yeah.
You go to Southern California. Now you end up in Arizona. How has your sort of business style or your personality kind of been shaped and molded and evolved through these three different kind of micro cultures, if you will?
I think I've taken on the best of all three. And I don't really even think of Arizona as its own area, primarily because in Arizona, it's a melting pot of people from Chicago, people from New York, people from California. Like, if I think about the people that I went to school with, those are the major towns.
Yeah, it's a destination.
They all just kind of came in there.
Yeah.
Both of my kids are born out here, so they're native Arizonan. And that's one of those things that's becoming more common now than it was way back when. I look at the difference though between New York, New Jersey, and Southern California and say I have the grit and the heart, the work ethic and the drive and the direct piece that comes from being born on the East Coast and growing up on the East Coast. And then I've had my edges kind of rough, kind of rounded out a bit by spending time on the West Coast and just kind of being more in tune with things like the ocean and the water and kind of the laid back culture that's out there. So I think I've taken the best of both of those and put those together into my style.
And what is like the Arizona vibe though? You've got like the New York grit, right? The kind of stereotypical in your face thing. You've got the Southern California laid back, chill vibe. I'm always curious with my friends who live and do business in Arizona. What is the Arizona vibe?
It kind of depends on where you live, because this is a place where you've had so many people come from so many different locations. So it's this kind of like melting pot of vibe. Now, if you're further out, like I am, you got a lot of people who have moved there from Southern California. One of the quickest ways to see who's moved from California is who paints their house white.
Yeah,
like literally,
true.
That's what happens. So they paint their house white.
First week.
And when they do that, you're like, oh, okay, I know where you came from. And some people come from Washington. Now, the people that are moving out there are into raising a family, want to have good services right around them, good school districts. That's what's going to be a draw. There might be companies like Intel that will draw people into the area. Now, if you move up north and east or west where my brother lives, that's going to be, people will say west side, that's going to be a different group of people. Cost of living might be a little bit less expensive. It's going to be closer to Cardinal Stadium. You might have people who come out from California, but maybe they didn't make as much on their house, so they decide to move up in that area. And that's just, you're going to get a group of people that are up there. Now, inside economic development out here in Arizona, which is super interesting, you have this cooperative competitiveness that's happening where people are starting to say, hey, I want to be, or we want to be known for this in Arizona. And everybody's trying to figure out what that identity is. In Mesa, Gilbert, the area where I live, manufacturing is a big piece of it. If you go in here into the Scottsdale corridor area, what you're looking at is cybersecurity and tech. If you go up north and east, what you're finding is biotech. And it's just kind of interesting to see how each of these groups start moving around. So I think we're still trying to figure it out. Go ahead.
You know what I find interesting about that?
Yeah.
I'm going to pick on you for a second.
Pick away.
I think we've known each other for 5+ years, at least, maybe longer than that. Sometimes I've watched you and your career and what you're doing, and I think to myself, I think he's still trying to figure it out exactly.
Always.
And as you're talking about Arizona, I'm thinking, he's kind of talking about himself at the same time, trying to figure this thing out, because you are a thinker.
Yeah.
You're a tinkerer. I was telling Mike before, you're my whiteboard guy. The walls look like a beautiful mind. You're scribbling notes everywhere and stuff like that, yes. Right? Yeah. So do you think that where you are has cultivated that part of you? Has it hindered you or held you back at all, trying to figure out exactly what your niche is, what's your thing?
Definitely hasn't held me back. I don't think it's held me back. I think it's created space to grow and create. So it's like this whole, way back when, go west, young man, right? Yeah. So go west. Now you go out there and you build and you work in this area where there's not a lot there and you can make whatever it is that you want. So I actually think it's helped on that side, but never thought about it, or I never thought about it in that context about the change that's constantly happening. I don't have any clients that are based in Arizona. My clients are based outside of Arizona, which is by design, for primarily because I don't want to go into an office. I don't want to be accessible where someone's like, hey, can you come down here and spend half a day inside a room with me? Sure, if I'm going to get on an airplane and go do it.
Yeah, but drive an hour this way, drive an hour home that way.
No interest in that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I think it's actually helped with the creative flexibility of being able to do and build. Because I am a tinkerer. I am a thinker. Do accelerate speed to impact through action. But I don't want to be the button pusher. I'll build the button or build the role to help bring the right person in to push that button, but I'm not going to.
So it's interesting. We were talking about this morning. In my brand, I'm considered more of a generalist.
Okay. Cool.
People say, well, you're the insurance guy. Like 70% of your clients come from these insurance companies. That might be true, but I could easily work with a startup company. The gal who's sitting right before here, CEO of a cannabis company. So when people say, okay, well, what's the common threat? And I said, well, it's communication, whether it's a sales team, it's a leadership team, it's an account management team. That's how I see it in my mind. But the outside world, when they look at trying to pigeonhole guys like us, well, which guy are you? What niche are you in? Because the guys that really niche down, they're known in that space for whatever it is, right? So we all struggle with this, I think, in our own way. So my question is, if you had to pick that thing for you and say, okay, well, fair enough, generalist, maybe, but here's the one thing that's the common bind for the things that you do and the people you work with, what would you say?
Yeah, it's leadership. And I'm actually even narrowing down further right now, specifically into communication and the way in this view that there are things that are said, like somebody could go back and watch the transcript of what was said today. There are things that are heard and there are things that are remembered, and rarely are they all the same. And a lot of that depends on the medium where the communication is happening and the mindset of the people that are involved in it. So I've shifted from revenue to leadership, primarily because what I've seen is that revenue challenge inside an organization is a culture challenge in disguise. Culture starts with leadership. Leadership starts with self. Leaders build leaders. Leadership starts with self. Leadership is how we move forward. And then narrowing down even deeper, it's into this what I'm using the whiteboard for are meetings. Like, what does a guided or facilitated conversation look like, where someone in a conversation sees their words up on a whiteboard? So it becomes less like Nash and me putting my stuff up there, and more about, hey, I'm going to get all the stuff out of your beautiful mind and get it up on to a whiteboard. So
Yeah.
that's the narrowing, and it's scary because you go through and you're like, what am I giving up as we go through the process? How do I fund things as we go through it? But that's the draw that I'm testing right now.
I get this question a lot. Who are your like favorite groups, verticals? It's okay. We have them all. But if you had to say there's one or two that you like to work with, whether it's a group of people or a vertical that you prefer
Yes.
over others, what would you say?
This is going to tie into a bit about what Scott had announced recently on the landscaping side of things. I am tired of having to show people the company I'm working with on a phone. Like, here's the app, here's the website, all of that kind of stuff. I want to be able to drive down the road and be able to point things out. Mm-hmm. So I've moved from emerging and enablement technology, which is where I've operated in for a while, and I'll still do it on referrals and that kind of stuff because I can help people in that area. The thing that's driving me right now, second generation family run businesses that are over 40 years old.
That's great. I mean, that's pretty nichey.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't, I mean, if you can, and here's the thing, you know, as well as I do, you go swim in that pool, they all know each other. So they're going to be inviting each other to that same pool. The referral network gets good. And that's one of the toughest parts about being a generalist, right? You don't get that. So had to ask, because I know that's a question that Scott and I talk about a lot.
Well, the interesting thing about that sector is, in theory, it's a little more robot and AI proof, at least for a certain period of time, you could say. And with, Lord knows the numbers, I don't have the stats, but like however many boomers are out there that are retiring, there's a huge open area right there. So you want to slot in there and help those people, or you want to slot in there and build actual businesses?
I want to help those people. And the reason I want to help those people is I think that's where the bigger impact is, broadly, at least for someone like me who gets bored quickly.
Yeah.
And even though I'll see the same problems over and over again, which are, typically around leadership, you run into either a problem solving challenge, a decision making challenge, a goal setting and execution challenge, a design challenge, or a communication challenge. Those are 5 core leadership skills from my perspective. When you work with these companies, here's one of the big challenges. It is very hard for a second generation family run business to pass things on to the third generation. What will typically happen is the second generation gets sick and then they have to close doors, or they'll sell to private equity. And there's a couple of different ways that those things exit. Some of them will actually exit by moving into an employee ownership program where the second generation funds the ability for the employees to buy the company. It all depends on whether or not they've got the systems, processes, and structure in place to be able to do it, which includes people on the leadership side and systems and process on the operations and revenue side. If you've got those things in place, then you get more options relative to how the transition works. The reason it's important to me is a lot of the second generation family run business owners who've been in businesses that are over 40 years old end up being about our age. We're a little bit older. I'm a little bit older than you, but so they're about our age. So they're looking at it, they're saying, how am I going to pass this on? What do I do next here? Well, they don't want to let down the families that are in that business by closing the business down. So they know that they need to support them and the other family members that are there. So I think there's an opportunity to positively impact communities by helping these organizations continue to thrive in whatever way that is, which is either selling it back to the employees, selling it to some investment instrument, or getting the things in place for the next generation to take it over if that's what is the right fit.
What is it about the handoff from 2 to 3? I mean, the handoff from 1 to 2, let's say, is smooth. But from 2 to 3, somehow.
So in a lot of cases, it's not smooth. So you say smooth, but think about this. When you start a business, do you remember the really good stuff? Do you remember the hard stuff? Do you remember the mistakes? And of all of those things, how many of those are you going to pass on to your kids if they take over the business?
I would say I remember more of the mistakes and more of the failures.
100%.
I probably dwell on
like 5
I probably dwell on those more.
And have you documented them in a way where you can pass them on to the next person?
Not
No, I
yet.
have
I
not.
would say not yet.
No, not.
I would say not
sure
yet.
Not yet.
So imagine you're second generation, you pick up the business, things are going really good. And then the first generation passes away, or they're not there, or they misremember some of the really bad stuff that had happened.
Because it wasn't documented.
It wasn't documented, but they also don't have the same grit that it took to start the business.
Because they didn't birth it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, would you say that your kids are a little bit different than you are relative? Come on now.
Oh man.
Pause. Yes.
180.
Yes.
180.
Sure.
So, okay, now imagine that carries over another generation.
Yeah. So you're just getting farther away from the origin.
Farther and farther away from the origin.
Yeah.
And like me, we struggle with sharing those stories. We struggle with documenting it. We don't want to be found out. And then here's the other thing that's really tough. That second generation who's doing the work, how hard is it to go back to the first generation and say, hey, I'm screwing up here. I need some help. Like, think about that first time that you're a leader inside an organization and everybody's counting on you to be successful. How easy is it to go back into the company and say, hey, I need help? And how many of those leaders think, well, just figure it out yourself? That's what I did. So you just keep getting further and further away from
I was hoping that if our kids, so he asked a good question. So I was hoping if we agree our kids are like 180 different than you and I, that the next generation would 180 back
And
to us.
become us again.
Become us again.
Yeah.
Right.
So your grandchild
Yeah.
will be just like
that's great.
Grandpa Mike.
But this provokes a thought. My book I wrote is called "What's Your Story? Discover the Mayhem Behind Your Dad." So the idea is to extract information from grandfather. It's just for men. It's a men's book. It could be a woman's book. So I wrote it from get information from my grandfather, my dad, me to hand to my kid about life. How'd you grow up? What your rituals, religion, all that stuff. So what I hear you is in your next book, that's it, right? It's what's your story, but you're documenting like a journal of the business, if you will. Because Scott we just said it. No, the answer is no. I've
Haven't
not
done it yet.
written down, and I'm a journal guy. I'm sitting there thinking all the times that I write about my business, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the failures and things I did wrong. So I love it. I think there's a book in there somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it's the What's Your Story? Discover the
way to go after another failure, not writing books. That was why I launched the podcast, is because I don't get energy out of writing. And if I'm going to be out there saying, hey, do things that you get energy out of, how can I go in there and say, or go in?
You don't want to feel like a hypocrite or something.
I'm not. Like, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And I think you've seen that over the years that we've had a chance to.
I think it's one of the reasons why we get along, actually.
And I think that benefits the whole the fact that there's a group of people a lot that don't love writing. They don't get the juice from it. I do, but it's about only 5 years or so. And I had a guy the other day just nonchalant say, he goes, hey, writing, it's just going to go by the wayside. We don't need writing. Just go on ChatGPT. I can write you a book in an hour. So whether it's good or bad.
It is real, though.
Yeah, it is real. And I didn't love how nonchalant he said it.
Yeah.
So it kind of poo-poos the writing and the time I spent in coffee shops the last X amount of years writing. But he's right. So, but I have seen your stuff. You are a dry erase board guy, and even the stuff you put on social, which I've seen. So is there a question that you love asking? How do you extract this out? I mean, you got to have a couple of go-to questions or a couple of things that your signatures to get it out.
The biggest one that I get the most like response, where like no matter how many times someone hears it, just like smacks them in the head, is what's the question that I didn't ask that you expected me to ask?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a common answer people give?
Oh wow, that's a really good question. It just gives
that's a natural.
They're buying time
for the answer.
Trying to think of something. Yeah.
It just gives them a little bit of space. But typically what that ends up bringing is, and there's different versions of it. So what's something you expect me to ask I didn't, or what's something that didn't come up that should have come up? Those are ones where that starts to go just a layer deeper into something that I might have missed, whatever it is. It could be on the person side, it could be on the business side. Those are big ones. The bigger, the base ones, when you think about it, just from a problem solving perspective. Okay, so if I tell you I've got a problem, what's your first response?
How can I help?
Okay, cool. So how can I help? You want to jump into how can I help? Any other responses that typically happen? Like, hey, I've got a problem. I got to figure out where I'm going to eat tonight or something like that.
And I might think, how did you end up in that predicament?
Okay, cool.
Probably kind of judgmental.
What do you want?
If I'm being honest, my first thought is like, how can I help? And my second thought is, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. How can
Being
that
honest.
really
We're
be
talking
your
about
problem? That's awesome. How could that really be your problem? Well, so a lot of times what people will run into is they'll hear a problem and then all of a sudden they want to solve it.
Yeah.
And they want to say, well, did you think about, have you been to In-N-Out Burger in a while? No,
Yeah.
I was in Austin. Have you been to wherever? Like, do you like hamburgers? Like those kind of things. So we jump from what into how, and we miss a couple of key steps. Number one, we miss who. Like, who has the problem, who's impacted by the problem, who cares about the people who have or are impacted by the problem. That'll share perspective. A lot of people on the revenue side will think about things like multi-threading. This is how you multi-thread. You start to figure out who those people are. On the other side, and I draw this out as a hexagon, and people will see it over and over again if you look at some of the whiteboard videos. On the other side of the hexagon, it's why. Why does the problem persist? Root cause analysis. Why is it important to solve? Like what's the impact of solving or not solving? Then you earn the right to get into how. Like, how are you trying to do it today? How might you do it differently in the future? And then we can build a plan on it. So it's basically the journalist approach. What, why, who, how, when. I avoid where's not super critical so many times. And then ultimately get into what's next. What's our plan of action? Short-term, medium-term, long-term. So those are the questions that I'll use to help draw information out of people. And when you do it with a group of people, it's amazing what starts to come out. Different perspectives start to share.
Are you able to, this is a hard pivot potentially, but
Sure.
Are you able to draw answers out of your kids when you ask those kinds of questions?
I sound like Charlie Brown's teacher.
But
Dude.
you must have done something right. You raised a D1 athlete.
athletes, I mean, come on, college.
Like, how do you raise a D1 athlete?
Jen is really good at raising kids. And I've got some good genes in there that I just never took advantage of at some point in time. So I think that's the story.
What do you think your son would answer? If I asked him that question, what did your parents do to help raise a D1 athlete? What do you think he would say?
So Andrew is the one that you're talking about. So and Andrew
Swims for Hawaii, right?
Swimmer at University of Hawaii, and we're getting ready to move him back in for his sophomore year. He would say, my mom was always there. Like, she did the thing. She was there for the swim meets. And back then when you're writing down which heat you're going to be in and which race you have and all of that kind of stuff on the arm, like, she was always there for it. If you were to press him and say, okay, well, what'd your dad do? He kept pushing me. He would listen, ask questions, and kind of figure out what I was working on and where I was stuck on different stuff, which, again, same kind of thing elsewhere. It's like, what's working, what's not working, where are you stuck? Yeah. That is the stuff that I think he would bring up, or at least I imagine he would.
This pushing question is an interesting one, because I was actually talking to my younger son a week or two ago. Yeah. And I asked him, like, hey, do you think that I've pushed you too hard or whatnot? Soccer player, basketball player, baseball player, but soccer is like the main thing. And he actually told me something that surprised me. He said, I wish you would have pushed me harder.
Wow.
And I was like, oh shit.
But he's old enough to know that now. How old is he though?
He's 15 right now.
Yeah. So if you ask a 9-year-old that, a 12-year-old that, but 15 and above is where they start to look at their peer
15,
group.
yeah.
They go, wow, if I would have done this different, if I would have studied a little harder, I'd get higher SAT scores or whatever. Yeah. We've been telling them, but they're not doing.
So how did you, for yourself, find that balance of, I'm going to push you, but I don't want to be like a, stage mom or what's his name? Todd Marinovich. Remember that quarterback from USC? And the ad was like way too much. How did you toe the line there between pushing but not pushing so much that they burn out or they resent it or something like that?
Big Macs were okay in the house. that was okay. It's more me asking questions like, what do you want? How do you want to get there? That kind of stuff. Not, you didn't achieve the result that you needed. You got to go out there and work harder. Why are you not working on your nutrition? Why are you not lifting weights? Like, not judgmental, more coaching. And that's my leadership style. So again, what you see is what you get. In that environment, it's questions and just kind of asking the questions. So I think that has helped him over that period of time. His goal, he had a couple of different goals. He's very goal oriented, and our kids are you take on different qualities from both Jen and I. Andrew, very goal oriented, very goal driven. One of the things he saw when we did some goal setting and execution stuff is he never thought about breaking it up into smaller parts and being able to say, oh, which is the strategy and tactics type stuff. Like, we know that. And when you talk to kids about goals, you're like, okay, what's your goal? Okay, well, now go out there and work hard and see if you can achieve it. If you don't achieve it, well, you tried hard. Like, I remember, participation trophies, like all of that kind of stuff. Like, those are the things that would frustrate him from a drive perspective. When Andrew and Sean would compete, and I shared with you guys a little bit earlier, I kept them away from hockey because hockey is expensive and there's a lot of travel that's involved in it. And that was the sport that I grew up playing and loved playing. But I also had access to ice. Sometimes it was on ponds. When we were in Michigan, it was on lakes, like frozen water where you could go out and skate. With them, Andrew would outwork Sean. Sean would outthink Andrew.
Interesting.
So Sean would know the rules of the game and kind of optimize within the rules of the game and try to figure it out. And Andrew would just grind away and outwork you. And when he would get frustrated, take a stick to his brother's forearm, and all of a sudden we were at a hospital going to get things like those kind of things would happen. So I think there's a bit of that. It's like really being comfortable with the whole idea of, hey, you know what? I can ask myself a lot of questions, kind of figure out what I want, and then go from there.
Yeah. So what real quick on life or business, this is either one, some of the things, if we went and asked the people around you, what's a couple things he always says? His go-to phrases, his go-to quotes or teachings, what would we hear from other people about things you are always teaching?
Yeah, asks a lot of questions. That's one of those that will just come up. Like, asks a lot of questions, usually asks good questions.
Anything in particular, though? Is there any statement that they're like, oh, this is definitely something he would say in a matter of a half hour?
I'm still working on getting that branding stuff out there. Like, there's a couple of ones, like the ones that I would love to hear people say, if you're looking for leadership, start with a mirror.
Yeah.
Like that, Mike has reinforced that over and over again. Stop looking for somebody else to lead you. Pick up a freaking mirror and start asking yourself some questions. Like that's one. Execution through clarity and focus. So you achieve results by using lines of clarity to be able to focus attention on a specific area. Those are the things that I want to be out there. When I've asked people this stuff before and say, hey, what's one word you hear when all of a sudden the person you think of on the other end is me?
Yeah.
And when you hear my name, what's the follow-up word that you hear?
Yeah.
Those things are things like sales, execution, clarity, simplify, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's a good one. What would yours be? I never asked you that point blank. One liner, if someone walks on, or like, did Scott bring this line up? He always says that line, that one liner quote or belief.
Yeah, I think that maybe I have a few. I mean, Mike maybe could try to throw one out, but I've talked a lot in the last few years about shrinking the delta between idea and action.
Yeah, okay.
And most people think about something, they chat about it, and they don't do anything about it. And one thing that I think that I've gotten really good at is we could all go have a beer right now, have a chat, some idea pops up, and I'll have started working on the thing by tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it'll be live in like a week or whatever. That I think I've gotten pretty good at.
Yeah.
You know, that would be one that I would say I might be known.
Would you agree with that?
That's the one I would have said. So I said, hey, Mike, what's that? For Scott, I would have said
Scott's phrase or whatever.
I would have said that.
I know what yours is.
What do you think it is?
Well, I know what it is for me.
What is it?
Nothing in life means anything other than the meaning you give.
Yeah, that's probably
that's the one thing that has stuck with me the longest.
I get the most though are what's written is real. I say that all the time, and I do, and I say don't judge, be curious. That's probably my top two.
Yeah,
but it's important, these little phrases, you know, we talk because we're doing the same thing in our own roles, consulting, right? We're going in and we stand for these beliefs.
Yeah.
And we have to do these beliefs because we demand them from a CEO or a leader. So that's why I'm always curious to hear other people's, because you want to check up on what, maybe I need to be raising my question game, or my statement game.
Yeah.
To your point, you're always thinking about it. What's part of your brand and what are people going to say? Because it's our.
Well, I'll give you another one just on this, because I think this is another one where we kind of screw up, both in families and business and life. It's, if I say the word mindset, what does that mean to you?
Clarity to me is mindset. Mindset is getting clarity. Is the way I think of it. If I get clarity, I have mindset about it.
My first thing I was thinking was how do I feel?
Okay.
Simply put.
Cool. Mine is ABCD. Mindset is attitude, beliefs, and clarity of definition. So there's the clarity piece. ABCD. So when we think about words like leadership, what is your mindset around leadership? So my attitude and belief is leaders build leaders. Leadership starts with self, and leadership is how we move forward. That definition is leadership is how we move forward. Once we align on definitions of those things, now we can actually move forward as an organization and have a high level of clarity. I don't care what your words are, but as a team, you've got to agree on those things. And if you don't have your definition, then let's align on a definition, then we move forward. And that mindset one, I think it's one that gets thrown out a lot, where people are like, well, I think growth versus fixed, or I think, hey, how am I going to come in here and do that stuff? And that's so for
pessimist versus optimist. Which one are you?
Where do you fit? And the sad part about a lot of that stuff, I think, and I've fallen into this trap with in a couple of different places, is those assessments start to become a way for you to judge yourself against others.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, whether you do DISC or you do Myers-Briggs or you do any of the other ones that are out there, then you start looking and you're like, well, you know what? I want to be that. Like, for me, I'm a D, but like a little bit of a C. And when chaos is happening, direct D, right? I want to be an I, because I's are kind of cool. They bring everybody together. But that I can't stunt double. I mean, I can stunt double as an I, but why judge yourself based on somebody else's criteria?
I don't know, but I have that sickness as well.
Well, you said it. You just nailed this, man. You said in prep, you said, sometimes you may overthink something or see it all the way through or dry erase board it. And you say you're a D dominant and a C compliant.
Yeah.
So Robert Alderman was my coach. He was Tony Robbins' coach way back. He's a behaviorist. He used to talk about this DC complex. You ever heard of this?
No.
This is powerful, man.
All right.
He says it's like living your life with your foot on the gas pedal and the brake at the same time. Is that him?
Kind of.
Kind of?
I mean, the parts of him that I know, yes.
But I didn't know that. You offered it up.
Going 2 feet at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
But you want, there's go forward is in there, but you're like, wait. I got to make sure I get it right. I got to make sure I nail it.
Yeah.
Right? So I was just curious because I had that same type of thing when I was starting my business. I don't have as much of the C, but I wanted to get it right. So the D wanted to just go. But the C was always kind of holding me back. So I learned behavior adaptation. Just quiet the C. Shut them off. Just go.
I have the judgment problem, the competition problem. You said, why would you judge yourself off of what so-and-so's doing or I'm looking at the leaderboard all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Beating myself up all the time for it. And I had a thought as you guys were talking, and this is a roundabout way to get to this thought, but I was thinking about all of our fandoms in terms of sports and what our fandoms kind of might say about ourselves. And I grew up a Buffalo Bills fan. I've been a Buffalo Bills fan forever. This like Western New York kind of mindset, self-deprecating, can't have nice things, beat yourself up. Things are always going to fall apart at the last second. That's me looking at the scoreboard all the time, trying to find a way to bring myself down. Mike, you don't know this about Mike Lindstrom, but Lindstrom is a fan of like the Yankees, the Cowboys, USC.
Champions.
All champions, right?
Champions.
And you're a fan of the Jets. And when's the last time the Islanders won the Cup?
83.
Yeah. And when's the last time the Jets won the Super Bowl?
69.
Yeah. So like,
he knows. Of course he knows.
You're used to a certain level of futility, for lack of a better word. And I'm used to like getting close but not quite pulling it off. So maybe I'm wondering, like, does our fandom actually say something? Is it like more integrated in who we are and how we operate?
As long as it's not based off rings and cups and I
only that.
I think it's the team, the brand,
it's the ethos of the organization, of the city potentially. Absolutely. And everything, right?
Yeah. I think there's truth in that.
No? It says the Yankees fan.
Hey.
It's not tied to rings. And so here's baseball. Not a big baseball fan.
You're a Mets fan though, right? Ish.
Not really. Like I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Yankees fan. I collect hats.
Yeah.
So what? Diamondbacks fan, Padres fan.
Yeah, you're not a baseball
Angels fan. Not a baseball.
Yeah.
You're all over the place.
And literally all over the place. All over the place. When it comes to hockey and when it comes to football, it's the Islanders and the Jets. And the Jets have made it very difficult. The Islanders have made it difficult in different ways, shapes, or form. Like there's a gap in my Islander history that goes from about 92 when I went out to ASU to the mid to late 2000s. So I missed the whole fisherman's logo kind of thing. Like I wasn't really involved paying attention to the team as much then, just because I had other priorities and I was focused on other things. The Jets have been there all the way through, and they make it very hard to be a fan. But I'm optimistic. I mean, the best season for a Jets fan, preseason.
Yeah.
It's freaking
Free agency
awesome.
season.
Even preseason is amazing.
We're
You're
in
like
the
the
prime
offseason.
now, man.
Yeah, we're in the prime.
Week 2.
Yeah.
The offseason is great. Then you get into preseason, you're like, dude,
Yeah.
we got a chance. And then you get to the first game, and 4 plays in, you're not watching the game, and your phone blows up because your quarterback just blew his Achilles.
Yeah. I may or may not have been guilty
You're one of the
of
people.
sending him a message like that with a little bit of glee. I'm glad it didn't happen for you, though.
Yeah.
Glad it didn't happen. Hey, man, we appreciate you taking some time out of your afternoon to come in and chat with us today. Tell everybody about what you're working on, what you're building, what you want to promote right now.
Yeah, where can I find you? Social
where can they
media,
find you?
LinkedIn,
Like-
whatever you want us to share.
So the big one, you can find your catalyst at findmycatalyst.com. That is the best place to go. And I am committed to solving this leadership challenge that we have in our communities, in our states, in our country, in our businesses, because if we don't solve it, we're going to have a really hard time moving forward. And leaders build leaders. Leadership starts with self, and leadership is how we move forward. So
Awesome.
the catalyst at findmycatalyst.com.
Love that.
Love it.
Appreciate you telling us a little bit about your story today, and we'll see everybody next time on the next episode of What's Your Story?